This hour on I-24 News, according to Syrian media, international inspectors have now arrived in the city of Douma, but the U.S. State Department says the team still has not been allowed into the site of last week's alleged chemical attack.
Israeli forces say they are bracing for an attack from Iran after striking an Iranian-controlled base in Syria.
Plus, President Trump is now meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Mr. Trump says he will meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un by early June.
North Korea is coming along without us and without me in particular, I guess. You would have to say that they wouldn't be discussing anything.
From the I-24 News studios in Times Square in New York, this is Crossroads with David Schuster and Tal Heinrich.
In Syria, a team of international inspectors has reportedly arrived in the city of Douma, and that's the city where nearly 50 people were killed last week in an alleged chlorine attack.
That development comes after the U.S. accused Russia and Syria of trying to deny access to the inspectors and block them from doing their job. Russia has denied those accusations and says the inspectors will be allowed in. Senior Middle East correspondent Mohammed El-Qasim has more.
An OPCW team entered the city of Douma on Tuesday, following days of war of words. The U.S. is accusing Russia of blocking access to inspectors from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons from reaching Douma, where a suspected poison gas attack took place on April 7. At least 85 people killed in the alleged chemical attack on the city near the capital, an attack both Damascus and Moscow vehemently deny took place.
There is no proof that on the 7th of April, chemical weapons were used in Douma.
The Russian Defense Ministry denies hindering the work of the inspectors.
Russia is not obstructing the international inspectors in any way.
Moscow even accuses Western countries of not wanting the investigation to go on.
It looks like the Western countries, led by the United States, don't need any investigation. They have made their decisions for themselves.
But the American ambassador to the chemical watchdog claimed the Russians may have already visited the site and tampered with evidence. And his British counterpart says that neither Damascus nor Moscow can guarantee the security of the inspectors on the ground.
To be very clear, the Director General of the OPCW said that the UN Department for Security had cleared the inspectors to go to Douma, but he was also very clear that the Syrian regime and the Russians could not guarantee their security.
The back-and-forth accusations come only days after punitive missile strikes by the US, Britain, and France in Syria. The Allies say the military strike was in response for the alleged chemical attack. If the OPCW investigation reveals the Syrian military was in fact behind the suspected chemical attack, observers say more military actions from Western countries may be coming, raising the prospect of Syria's civil war spilling over its borders. Mohammed El-Qasim, I-24 News.
And for more, we're joined here on set by senior diplomatic correspondent Nina Larson. Nina, always good to have you here. Maybe you can explain, is the team really on the ground there, the OPCW experts team? Is it really confirmed, and how transparent is their investigation?
Well, it's interesting, Tal. At the moment, we have confirmation and images from Syrian state media. But today, the State Department and the Pentagon walked this back a bit and said that they couldn't independently confirm. So what we could be seeing is a bit of a propaganda campaign. That's no surprise by the Syrian regime. They are on the ground. They are in Syria. We just don't know what kind of level of access they have to the particular site.
So it could be that they're in Douma, but they haven't actually reached the scene of this chemical attack. But even if they do get to the scene and they get the various dirt samples and whatnot, is the OPCW, are they in a position to conclude who delivered the chemicals?
No, David, that's not part of their mandate. These are experts, these are scientists. They can conclude if an attack took place, but they cannot name the perpetrator. The only way that that could happen was, if we cast our minds back to, there was a UN OPCW investigative panel, and they were all working together, but the Russians effectively blocked this last November at the United Nations.
And speaking of the United Nations, Nina, it seems that every day almost there is a meeting over there about Syria. What went on today?
Not very much, Tal. This was a humanitarian meeting called, ironically, by Russia. just got underway about an hour ago, but there was just more talk, really. The US was not represented by Nikki Haley today. Her deputy was there. That was quite interesting. And basically just all the European powers saying, look, we're ready to send aid in, but we cannot get it in there. But I think for going back to the inspections for a moment, we have to put this into some kind of perspective. It's 11 days since this attack, and this area is completely controlled by the Syrian and Russian military. So you can imagine the level of transparency.
And we did see some images last week of Russian soldiers going to the scene. They were apparently there for 20 minutes. Russia has denied that they did any meddling, but it also said, well, we concluded that there were no chemicals based on their troops only being there for a few minutes.
That's right. And this was a gas attack. So as France said today, quite rightly, 11 days on, the gas is dissipating. It's very, very difficult to get those kind of